Samson Koge. Oh, oh, we Jehovah, Him not any. Oh, oh, yeah, oh, oh, yeah, oh, oh, yeah, oh, oh, yeah, oh, oh, beat ya. So make up Samson Koge. Oh, oh, yeah, oh, oh, yeah, oh, oh, yeah, oh, oh, yeah, oh, oh, beat ya. So make up Samson Koge.
I greet you all in the name of Jesus. I'm trusting God that you are all doing well. I am doing fine too. And I know I have been doing short videos here and there, recording and sharing. But today this is a special episode. This is a special story. This is my own testimony. And I want to just let you know or share what I have been through and a little story about my life. And the reason I'm sharing this is so that I can encourage someone. And I know sometimes people say don't share too much about you, don't expose things, but I'm doing this purposely for the glory of God. And this is especially for somebody who is a servant of God or a gospel artist like me. And I just want you to know a few things concerning from my own story. It may be of help to you. Now, most of you know me. My name is Maggy Seurey. I was born in the village. I was raised in the village, although most people think mimi ni born town. Many people think I was raised in town, but I'm a village girl. I went to school in the village. Hata nilifundishwa na Kikale and sometimes. And so that is where I grew up. And many people normally wonder, do you know how to speak in Kikale? I wonder, naimba Kikale so deep. But still, mtu haamini that I can speak in Kalenjin, but I'm a typical and proud Kalenjin girl. Now, that is briefly where I was born in the village called Chemnoet in Mosop, Nandi, Rift Valley. And that is briefly about my background. Now, I grew up being a perfect girl. I was a perfectionist. Nilikuwa ule mtoto ambaye anataka vitu ziende poa. And I grew up being a laid-back and shy child. Very shy, even until now. And I feel bad that I'm still shy at these times of my life where I'm old enough and I have children. And I was shy to an extent. Even my mom would not send me to the shops to buy anything. Not because I didn't want to, but because I just feared being exposed, meeting people. And I was just a stay-home child. And comparing with my sisters were outgoing. They would go to visit relatives. They would go where. And even as we speak, kuna relatives wangu ambao maybe I don't even know them well because I never got to move around and kusalimiana. So I went to school and I was this kind of a girl who believed in a perfect life, growing up from this and going to the next step and everything going well. Like after school, you go to college, after college, you get a job, then you get married, then you do a wedding, I just loved weddings, and I knew one day I will be in a wedding gown, and all those dreams that a girl normally have. And funny enough, the fact that I was very shy and laid back, my first boyfriend was after Form 4. That was my first ever boyfriend that I dated. And so that's how my life was. But almost the opposite has happened so far. And this is the part where I want to share, because many people heard that my marriage broke. My marriage went through mayhem, and it was all over. It was in the newspapers. It was shared on social media. Many people heard what happened. But today, I'm not sharing this story on the negative side or to pin anyone down. I have healed. For the last 5 years, God has helped me through this journey and has actually helped me to learn where I was wrong myself when in regard to what happened. Now, before I got married, I remember I had just started singing. I had 2 albums. I was a rising star. Everyone was talking about my music, kule nyumbani. And so I had this boyfriend, alikuwa maju, and okay, so I was dating. And I remember I never prayed about marriage. Actually, I got married out of excitement, just that feeling of, getting married as a young girl, I was very shallow spiritually. I didn't even know the seriousness of making a big decision like marriage in my life. So to be sincere, I like to say I never prayed about it. I was just excited about it. And considering there were already issues, we had issues, relationship issues, trust issues, we had even broken up many times. But because I just wanted to, I just wanted to stay with him, and I knew that wakati when we'll be living with him, everything will be fine. And I went to the US, and the opposite happened. And it's something that I knew, and God has been walking me through the journey of, you are not patient, you never waited. So I was also wrong to have even gotten into something so serious in life without seeking God, without seeking God's blessing and God's opinion. And whatever happened there, I don't want to talk about, but I'm sharing this video to just highlight the things that have happened in my life. Na imekuwa kama setback in my own life. It has affected me in a way, but above all, God has helped me in so many other ways. So I have to say, after I left the US and after seeking God, actually being there, that was the time my relationship with God grew. So seriously, I would pray all time and seeking God, because I was in a situation I could not help myself. I was in a mess. And I kept seeking God, and I thought God was going to come through and heal everything. But that's not what happened. One time God spoke to me and said, go back to Kenya. Now, when we talk about God speaking to somebody, a few weeks ago, I read a lady who posted on Facebook and said, what's wrong with these people who say God amesema sijui nini, God has spoken? Who told you God can speak to anyone? She said, God, we just pray and wait on God to do things for us. God does not speak. I just want to correct that. God speaks. Even me, when he spoke to me, I thought I was in doubt, like, who am I? Why? How did I even hear the voice and everything? And I was confused. But later when I came to Kenya, the same message was confirmed by a man of God who didn't even know exactly what was going on in my life. And I knew really the message was that I'm destined to serve God in Kenya, and now the problem was my marriage. And I went on and forth. I even tried making it work again. I kept going back and it didn't work. And since every effort I had put to just keep trying did not work, I decided, you know what? This was it. Let me concentrate on my children. Let me raise my children and wait on God for anything else and just keep serving. And actually, to confirm that God actually had purposed for me to come, there was a lot of grace in my ministry. You know, it was like starting again. When you do music ministry, when you go away for some time, you disconnect from people. So when you come back, it's like starting again. And indeed, I saw God. He had shown me so many things in the US. One of the things he used to show me was about my family. I used to get a lot of dreams and revelations, actually. And I knew God had really, this was a time it was confirmed that I was called. You know, before I didn't know even what calling is. I knew God wanted me to sing, but I didn't know the deepness of being called to serve God. And God used to show me so many things about my family, and I would share with my family. I used to pray for my family. And he showed me about my music. And when I came to Kenya, actually, I saw the things he showed me. And I remember when I launched an album, when I came, I'm telling you, the people that came, the hall was packed, and I don't know how. And I remember even one of the MPs came. I had not even invited, and gave me a check in front of people, a check of 200,000, and it was like, wow, God just sent people without any effort. And I knew this was favor. He showed me favor in ministry, which I had never had before. And the other things that happened was the fact that I used to be called to events. I was called for events, big events, that even other gospel artists thought Maggy has connections, Maggy knows people. I never knew people. You just seated at your house and you're called, and they tell you, we want you to come and represent like Rift Valley for these events. I remember the NOREB events. I remember the interview with Larry Madowa. I remember so many big things that just opened up. I remember being called by Citizen Bambika program, the gospel show, and just being called to also represent Rift Valley. And I knew it's not me. This has to be God. And so many things happened. And this time I had decided I'm just going to focus on serving God. And through this process, God was teaching me. He was showing me things. He was warning me. He was cautioning me in so many other areas in my life. And then 2 years down the line, I met a man. And this man came to my life in a way that I would say maybe I was vulnerable. And he came in an approach that any born again Christian girl who is searching will think this is God sent. And this was somebody who claimed he knew God, he was hearing God, and he knew we were meant to be together. And I have to say, for me, I wasn't spiritually alert, although I was praying God. But making a decision to go out to this man was the beginning of trouble again. And this man, after everything, and trusting him and thinking, wow, everything he did was so different. He would even share the word of God with me. He would ask me to pray, and you're thinking, wow, this is exactly what it is. And unfortunately, I fell into sexual sin. Yes, I sinned. And when I say sexual sin, I know many people, young people out there who are not married, think, Kwani, what's wrong with sex? Sex is wrong when you're not married. Believe it or not, you may fight this, but I'm telling you, the things that will get you into are things you will only expect God to get you out of. And so, and the worst happened in my life. I got pregnant. This was the worst times of my life. Even though I thought I cried because of my marriage before, now this was the worst. The most tears I cried in my life was knowing that I had fallen into sin. I was pregnant, and I had 2 other kids, and now this is going to be the 3rd kid. And this is the time I faced betrayal, mockery, abandonment. I lost everybody in my life. I was mocked, and sadly, most people wanted me to abort this pregnancy. They said, how will you continue serving God with a baby out of marriage? Your marriage broke and you've already moved on. And indeed, I knew this was it for me. I had repented. After that act, I had repented and told God, I am sorry for what I did. But now this was the outcome of what I did. And the man responsible was nowhere. This was the man that now true colors had come out. He was dating other people and he was confirming it, and there was nothing I could do. So I cried in my house. I was locked up with my 2 kids, with nobody to help me. I went through a tough pregnancy of bleeding, being admitted. And I remember some people telling me, this child may even be abnormal. You'll give birth to a child who has no ears or legs because you've been bleeding and you're having issues. And some of my close people also were mocking me and telling me, you're just a shame. You will never be relevant in ministry. You're just finished, And the others pushing me to just abort this pregnancy so that I can still sing and serve God. And I cried. I was torn between, I didn't know what to do. There were days I had decided, let me just abort this pregnancy, but surprisingly, God had a way of stopping me, and I knew God did not allow that. And I remember one time when I was crying and telling God, I don't have even one person who is supporting me with this. I know I am dead. I know I am finished. I remember when I got I got to know that I was pregnant. I cried that night. I soaked my pillow. I wondered what I would do. And I remember during this moment I decided maybe I should go back to my marriage. Actually, you are working on that, and this was boom. So when I learned of this pregnancy, I remember telling God, I am sorry to have served you. This is the worst shame of my life. I had cried because of the marriage shame and everything that happened. And now I am in this situation. I will be seen like an immoral person, somebody who is not deserving. So I told God, maybe I was serving you and yet you had not called me. Lord, I am sorry. I will not serve you again. I will never talk about you in public. I am accepting. So I prayed and told God, forgive me for serving you. Forgive me. I promise you I will not preach about you. I will not talk about you anymore. I will just be like any other person. I pray that you have mercy on me and save my life for the sake of my children, because I was feeling like I was going to die. I was shaking and feeling like I was losing breath. And I told God, please spare my life just for the sake of the 2 kids I have. Nothing else. I will never tell people I'm saved. I will never tell people anything about you. And some sleep took me, and I heard a voice that said, your latter days are going to be greater than your former. I opened my eyes and I was like, what? God, you still with me even now? And actually that one gave me courage. And even though I kept crying during that time, these were the first months of pregnancy, I remember one time I prayed and told God, now I am all alone. And everyone is against this. I told God, give me one person who will support me. At least somebody will encourage me and tell me you'll be fine. And one day when I was just seated in my house, a long-time friend called me whom I had not talked to for a long time, and this was a prayer partner. And she said she wanted to see me, and she came to my house and told me that God had visited her in the night, and she felt she needed to talk to me. And this person came, and this was Faith, my friend, and she came and encouraged me and told me, this is a special child. It is good you've not taken in that decision of abortion, because God desires you to carry this pregnancy to the end. He has a good plan. And I'm telling you, I was powered up. And when she left again for the next few weeks again, I was just crying and going through a lot. Every time I went down, this lady would knock at my door without me calling, and she always kept recharging me. God was using her to just recharge my energy. And despite being sick and the problems I had with the pregnancy now, and people confessing that this child will not be normal, and because of what I had gone through. And actually, to cut the long story short, I had a child. Now, that is my third child. A child that many people don't even know that I have another child. This child will be turning 2 this next month, December. After this child was born, I remember many things began unfolding in my life. Many blessings began, and I knew, gosh, God had walked with me through this journey. When I thought I was dead and finished and forgotten, I would never serve anymore. And I got so many openings, so many breakthroughs, and God started connecting me with destiny helpers. In the past, I would encounter people like, let's say a man would come to my life wanting to help me, but they would want to have an affair with me first. And I have never compromised my calling by getting advantage from a man just so that they can help me. Just so that I can... I have never in my life taken advantage of my calling. Like if a man tells me, I'll do this for you so that you do, I've never compromised. And one of my sisters normally tells me, one respect I give you, Maggie, is the fact that many men have always wanted you, but you've rejected them all. That if I had given in, maybe I would be driving a car, maybe I would be having a big house, but I would be empty inside because I've been used. And this is something I want to also encourage other gospel artists, that you don't have to bow down to demands of the flesh and just putting down your dignity so that you may gain favors in ministry. It's only God. And I always knew that one time God will come through for me, and I will get a breakthrough in music and everything. So things I began doing well in my life. God started favoring me. God started sending me people who want to help me. Just somebody calls and wants to help me, and I'm thinking maybe they want something, and they help and go. And I did, and that's the time I recorded a song called Amuchi. The song Amuchi means I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength, from Philippians 4:13. And from the time I recorded the song, I had the power. I began doing so many things. I was working on a talk show. I was working on my acting ministry. I'm also an actress. I was working on many other things. And there's also this radio job that I got just because God had decided to just favor me, unmerited favor, things that I did not deserve. And so the reason I decided to record this video to share this testimony is because recently God shared a revelation through the song Sumega of Samson. There is a song that is coming up, and many people have been telling me, hey, that title is interesting. It's interesting because the Bible says Samson's hair grew again. Sumega of Samson means Samson's hair, and the revelation was that my hair will grow again. My power was coming back. My anointing was coming back. And I went ahead and wrote this song from the book of Judges 15. That is where you'll get the story of Samson, the full story. And recently there was a launch of an artist called Sammy in Bomet. And I was almost not going to attend because of so many things that were buying me from going. But God kept telling me go, and I actually traveled at the last minute. And when I arrived there during the launch, the minister who was preaching that day was preaching about Samson. And then God started revealing more about Samson. And I knew the story of Samson was so much matching with my own life story. Samson lost his power because he fell in the arms of Delilah, and he was in love. And he was talking about the fact that Samson distorted his calling. Samson had power from the time, even before he was born. He was the son of Manoah, and an angel of God came to the mother when when she was expecting, and told her, "I'll give birth to a son who is going to be very powerful, and don't shave his head and all that." But later, Samson, even knowing that he was called by God, he was, because of being in love and because he followed the desires of his heart, he fell into the trap of Delilah, gave out his secret, and that is how he was trapped by the enemy, and they shaved off his hair and he lost his power. The same thing, personally, I know I distorted my calling because I did not know the strength of my calling. I did not know the seriousness of making big decisions in life, and even the fact that God had instructed me. God had been instructing me. One of the things God had asked me to do after my marriage failing was to be patient. Number 2, he instructed me through 1 Thessalonians 4:1-8, where it's talking about purity, that we are called to purity. We are supposed to be pure, righteous, holy, so that we can serve God. Sexual sins and the works of the flesh are not supposed to be. So God was instructing me not to compromise my sanctity, not to compromise my calling. But remember, through all these and meeting this man and falling into sexual sin and listening to the desires of my heart and thinking this was it, this is what I want, I found myself in trouble. The same thing with Samson, because he fell in love and just that is how they overpowered him. But now this song is about the fact that Samson's hair grew again. The Bible says his hair grew again and he killed more people than before. And God was telling me, you're going to get more power. You're going to be anointed again. And I knew this was a revelation that my hair was growing again. I was going to walk in victory, more power than before in my ministry. So I shared this purposely, just to conclude, to just encourage gospel singers. Do not compromise your calling. You are called by God. You have to listen to instructions. God is instructing you to so many things. But because of going through shortcuts, we are getting ourselves into trouble. We are distorting our calling. And in the end, we may be needed to begin again from zero. So gospel artists, don't compromise your calling or any other minister of the word. And I want to promise you that if you go before the Lord, your hair will grow again and you will begin to walk in power again. So this song is coming out in a few days time, and I know it's going to bless many other people. Even if you're not a gospel artist or a gospel minister, just know that you will be honored again. You will rise again. Never give up. God is working with you this journey. You are not supposed to give up. You're just supposed to keep holding on. And I want to say that from that, even after betrayal, losing people in my life, they all started supporting me. And I have a strong support system right now. I have just seen the hand of God. And my third child, who is so special, is growing up healthy and happy. I worship the Lord and I thank God that I kept him. And he is here today, and I know one day he's going to give his testimony of how powerfully God is going to use him. So that is my testimony about my life. Right now, it's me and Jesus. I love the Lord, and I know that is all that I'm living for right now. Many people think, oh, now Maggy is messed up. Now she's finished. That was in the past. But now this has been a year of victory for me. This is a year that so many miracles have happened in my life. When I thought it was over, actually, it's just the beginning of favor, of ministry, the beginning of so many things. Thank you for everyone who has supported me, who has trusted me. I know many people even may have heard stories out there and they go ahead and judge me. But there are people who have kept praying for me. Even when you hear anything negative about me, you just pray. And I've met people who tell me, Maggy, you know you're a really good person when I've come to know you directly. I don't know why you've gone through all these things, because you don't deserve. And the thing that helped me to heal from my issues is, one, I accepted that God allowed it for purpose of serving him through this story, and many people being encouraged and being saved through this story. Many people are going through even worse situations than mine. God is going to heal you, and I know my story is going to give you energy. Another thing, I have healed through also believing that the situations you find yourself in life does not mean you're a bad person. You're just a victim of circumstance. But if you're born again, you will know that God is going to use it for your own good, even when the enemy meant it for bad. But the problem is, if you're not born again or you don't know much about God, you may think this is the end of your life. You may think you're messed up, you're immoral, and you will succumb to the mission of the enemy against your life. Allow me to end there for today. And we will keep walking this journey together. For me, it's been a journey of grace. And I just felt I should share this story about my life right now. If there's anyone who wants to reach out to me and ask more about how I overcame certain things, how I overcame relationship issues, I am a person who has gone, who has known much about relationships. I have known what it means to be rejected. I have known what it means to be in love. I've known what it means to follow your heart desires, and even that may lead you to the wrong path. I'm a candidate of all that, but God has saved me from such situations. Things I never knew I'll go through in my perfect life. Like the way I started, I say I was a perfectionist. You know, I'm a girl who was brought up well, good character, good family upbringing, and I just wanted perfection. But all that didn't happen. But the timing of God and the season of God in everyone's life is perfect. So never undermine anyone, never think you're better than anyone. But when God comes through for somebody, you will really get to know that indeed God is a God of seasons and times, and He has the times of everyone in His hands. God bless you so much. Don't fear to reach out on inbox. If you're a young girl and you're going through issues and you're wondering what to do, I can advise based on what I myself has been through and my desire, even with the girls I have that I mentor around. I always tell them, please watch the steps I've watched. Be careful from the mistakes I have made myself, so that you can live a better life. Because these mistakes ni vitu tunafanya ambavyo we walk into and get ourselves into trouble. I want marriages that work. I am an advocate of good marriages, and I know marriages work. And I pray that everybody around me that desires to be married will actually be married and be happy in their marriages. Otherwise, God bless you. Bye.